everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Rocking Midlife Podcast. And I'm so excited. I've already been having a great old chat with today's guest. She is an amazing lady, and I'd like to welcome Colleen Kochannek. I think I got it right.
You did. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. We've been trying to connect for a while due to my moving house and everything, but we are here now. And Colleen's story, I know, is going to really, really encourage those of you who have thought about wanting to launch into a business at midlife, but we're a bit nervous about it, a bit scared. And what I haven't even told Colleen is I'm actually writing a book on this very topic. So she and I are going to have a whole lot of things to talk about. But basically, Colleen's mission is helping women of the typewriter generation, which is us, become successful laptop entrepreneurs. So Colleen, tell us a little bit about you. How did you end up sort of going down this track?
Oh, goodness. Well, I'll keep it brief because it's a longer story. But, like so many of us, I had the corporate career and I had it for, decades and decades. I actually had a job I really loved, but the industry went to crap and I was laid off with 10,000 of my, best colleague friends.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was crazy. And I had been working in the same industry, educational publishing, as I said, for decades. And I was just really ready to kind of jump out of that. I was almost 50. I think I was 49 when it happened. It was a really long, drawn out process. At the time, I'm American. I live in the States, but I happen to be on a British team. And so I was made redundant under British law, which goes on and on and on.
Okay.
In the end, you're like, just do it, fine, But anyhow, I had literally a year of being laid off when I had time to work on my business. How hard can it be? Oh my gosh, I actually know nothing about this online space at all, despite, marketing experience, et cetera. But I was kind of hell-bent and determined to figure it out. Yeah. And I started this small online magazine for my little town in Florida. And it was the greatest learning curve of my life. I hadn't thought anything through in terms of, how would I make money? I knew how I would make money, but I did not think through how labor intensive it would be, et cetera, et cetera. So fast forward a little bit, I did figure it out. I started jumping into all these courses, how to start an online business with all the big gurus, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd be in these courses and I'd be like, first of all, is there anybody else here over 50? Because I felt like I was in
there. Yep, I've been there. I've been in the same courses probably.
Yeah, we've been in the same courses. So it's all millennials.
Yep.
Or so I thought, because a few of them I would ask in the private communities, is there anybody else over 50? And people came out of the woodwork. Yeah. But nobody was asking questions.
No, they were the ones all hiding, weren't they, with the cameras turned off, just in the background?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. And then as I started going through these courses, I'm like, did I miss the first 7 lessons or something? Because I felt like they were not starting at what I felt was a beginner level.
Yeah.
And I joined these programs thinking, surely they're going to explain all this. And they didn't, basic things of an online business. But then I also felt stupid to ask because I felt like I was going to get that kind of millennial eye roll happening over Facebook, over the Facebook group, I could just feel it. And so I didn't ask the questions, but I persisted. I figured it out. But that always stuck in my mind that, gosh, they're not serving people like me. They're not teaching people like me the way I need to be taught. So fast forward a bit, I got my magazine off the ground. It was working, et cetera. My husband fell very ill and overnight, I became a caregiver to him 24/7.
Wow.
And I really had to pause that business because it was literally a 24/7 job. And a year later, he passed away.
Oh,
and as you can imagine, thank you. It was, this gut-wrenching experience. I had been with him more than half my life. And so my business stayed on pause, quite frankly. And I started realizing that probably is not going to be the best business for me because it ties me to that location because it was a hyper local business. And I thought, I don't know that I want to be tied to that. So I always joke that I sold my online magazine. I sold it to a local blogger for $1. Like, I'm being transparent.
For $1. Love it.
For $1. Like, but I want to be able to tell people I sold it. Like, it sounds more important. But I did sell it, and she had this great content and all. And I felt good about that because like the content was good, like it could live on. But then I started thinking about, what if I want to do? Because I really did love being in the online space. And I kept going back to this notion that when I got into it, nobody was teaching me like a true beginner. And so I thought, I'm going to do something around that. And so I just started like a Facebook group, and I just started kind of poking around a bit, helping women over 50 start their first online business. Fast forward all these years, and that is my primary business, and I love it. And yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
And that is so cool. We have a lot of parallels, because I did the same thing. I spent so much money in looking back now, which I wouldn't want anyone else to do, because it's like you said, you never quite got the information you really needed when you were coming in as somebody who hadn't grown up with this technology and you know how they do business online. So it was a steep learning curve for myself too. Luckily, I'm someone who loves learning, but time and money, and you'd get in the course and you'd follow the gurus, but there'd be these big gaping gaps because they would presume you were already sort of at that level, when you really needed somebody to start you right from the beginning and say, what is an email server, or what is the most basic things? What is a lead magnet? And so it's interesting you say funnel?
Yes. I'm like, I have a funnel in my kitchen. I'm pretty sure it's not what they're talking about, but I felt too stupid to ask.
Exactly.
And the online space, I think what's really interesting for like our generations, or as my doctor would say, in your season of life, and I always want to like punch him in the nose when he says that.
Give him one for me too.
You know, we come to business with a very different perspective. We come to business with this familiar perception we had from, you know, growing up or our corporate careers, which is a very permanent perspective of business. Like, you open a brick and mortar store and you sign a lease and you get inventory, or you open like an accounting firm and it's like very permanent. And an online business is not that at all. No. I mean, an online business is nothing but like a series of big ass experiments. Like, we're going to throw this against the wall. We're going to see if it works, and we're going to go with that. And if it doesn't, we're going to switch it up. And so I think that's one of the great opportunities we have in this online business space, but it's also a hurdle we need to get past. Like, we need to change our mindset about how we think about business per se in the online space.
Oh, absolutely. And certainly the events of the last 2 years have stirred that up, because I mean, you've probably heard they're calling it the era now of the Great Resignation, because people have realized that they can work from home, and there is something to this being online thing. So the whole face of business is actually changing a bit at the moment. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, I'm actually just about ready to publish my next book, which I'm thinking, I'd love you to get to have a look at, because it's going to be called Your Midlife Side Hustle. And
I'd love to see it.
Yeah. And because I thought, you know, for many women, they don't have that ability to just jump on in and start a business. They need to still have the security of their finances and their job, you know, while they step into this area and start the learning and start the building and so forth. So that's where I encourage a lot of women now, is don't chuck it all in, although in some cases you don't have a choice like you did with redundancy, but start looking at your business as a side hustle that you can work on, and then it eventually replaces. You're kind of managing yourself out of your workplace at the moment to do that. But with all of these things, I've noticed, you know, some people are, yes, I'm going to do this and I'd love it and I want to have my own business, and they'll get up and they'll put in the hours and they're excited and everything. But a lot of other people aren't. So what are the traits that you see between someone who could really go for it, launching a business over 50, compared to someone who might be just content in their regular job?
Well, yeah, you know this, I know this. Once you get into the space, you know, being an entrepreneur, having an online business is not for sissies at all. And, you know, we are really sold a bill of goods when you get into the space and you start learning, and then of course you get pixeled and targeted. So now everybody and their brother who can help you start a business is now sending you ads, and you need to do it this way. You need to have a membership. You need to have a course. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to be on every platform, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really a bill of, I mean, it's really a load of crap. Say. It's a load of crap.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
It's overwhelming. And when you're a beginner in a space and you're unfamiliar with everything to begin with, and you're insecure about it, you're grasping at everything, which is why like I took every course under the sun. I've taken them all, and still on occasion slip up and buy something that I know I don't need. But I think we get in that space, and I think that, you know, being sold this bill of goods, you have to be, I mean, I always tell my audience, this is a long-term game for sure. It's a really steep learning curve. You have to be really comfortable being a beginner. You need to be comfortable asking what you feel are stupid questions. I mean, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but you will feel stupid. And so you need to be comfortable saying, hey, I don't know what the hell a funnel is. Can somebody tell me what a funnel is? When everybody in the room is like 27 being like, oh my gosh, of course you don't know what a funnel is, kind of thing.
Duh.
Like totally duh. So you really need to kind of have the, you know, the chutzpah behind that. And you have to really love learning, I think, because it is a constant learning curve. I mean, you don't just get in it and like, oh my gosh, I know it, and that's done. It's, you know, it's an ever changing kind of environment. So I think it's really that. I think you can't be risk averse, because in online business, like I mentioned earlier, in my opinion, it's just a bunch of experiments. Like, I'm going to try this and we're going to see if it works. And, you know, I always tell my audience, you start with a general idea, not a specific idea, because you have no idea really where it's going to go. And then you have to start finding your audience. And it's kind of backwards in a sense. Like, you have to build your audience first, because they're going to give you the data you need to build your business then. And it feels backwards and really scary, because you don't really have anything to offer yet, except this general idea. So you have to be a little brave. You have to really want it. You can't be risk averse. And, you know, I think we women over 50 are perfectly set for this.
Absolutely.
Mind you, because, I mean, our bullshit radars are finely tuned. We have so much wisdom and experience and real expertise. And I think that one of the biggest hurdles is the tech. We let the tech get the best of us. And so I would say another kind of characteristic of starting an online business or a side hustle is you can't be afraid of tech. One, we live in a tech world. So if you're refusing to learn the tech, that's your own obstacle, you know, kind of your own making. I'm kind of like a no excuses kind of person about that. On the flip side of that, you don't have to know all of the tech you think you have to know. You don't have to know how to code a WordPress site and do this. It's so easy to outsource that.
Yes, so that's exactly what I was going to say. We have the ability, if we don't know it ourselves, we have the ability to go find someone who does. So so
easy. I always tell this, you know, example to my audience. I'm like, you are not an air conditioner repair woman. Like, let's pretend you open a brick and mortar store, like you have a retail store, and your air conditioner breaks. Do you shut your doors, go to air conditioning repair school for 6 months, learn how to fix your air conditioner, come back and open your doors again? No. So we have this propensity to believe that we have to do every piece of our online business, and it's just not true. It's just not true.
Brilliant. So. What a great analogy. That is so good. So do you find too that I think one of the key words I've found for myself in my own entrepreneurial exploration, windy journey over the years has been resilience. Resilience, I've found, is the big one, the ability to pick yourself up, because things do go wrong. It's like you said, it's an experiment, which means it's not always going to be a fabulous outcome. And I've found that I've had to be resilient, both in that and also in how I talk to myself, you know, my own, not putting myself down, not talking myself down, but, you know, being able to get back up, dust myself off. Have you found that that's a trait in you?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, mindset, I hate the cliche of mindset, but let's face it, it's true.
It is.
You have to have the right mindset, because if it can go wrong in your online business, it will. Your website will break. You'll get a hater online. You'll get a nasty reply to an email. You'll put something out there that gets zero engagement, whatever it is. And it's so easy to immediately go to that, dark place. I am bad. My idea is bad. This is stupid. I shouldn't have done it. When in fact, that's part of the learning. Like, that's, to me, looking back now, like, that's good data. That's good data to have, going forward. But resilience is everything. I mean, I really tell my audience all this crap you see, like, launch your 6-figure business in 4 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, no, you're going to be in this 18 months before you even feel like comfortable coming to your computer. Yeah. And I like to paint, I don't want to say like the dark picture, but I'm very reality based. Like, it's going to be a good 12 to 18 months before you're kicking on something like here. It's going to take that long to really get into it. So you have to be willing to keep putting stuff out there, even when nothing's coming back. You have to, be willing to be flexible and pivot and change, but not too soon. You also have to be ready to give something a fair shake. Yeah. Like, just because you put, like, just imagine if you put your first podcast out and it gets like one download from, like, your great grandma. You're like, oh, only great grandma downloaded it. And then you quit because
give it up. Yeah.
It's a long game. It's a long game. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. So what have you found with the women you work with? What are some of the hurdles some of them have faced?
Gosh, it can be many. I mean, it can really run the gamut. A lot of times it's the tech. But a lot of times it's either they can't figure out, some women will come to me and say, well, I don't have anything to sell. I'm like, it's physically impossible that you've been on this planet for more than 5 decades and not have expertise in something. I guarantee
that's good. Yep.
Yeah. Great. And so they have a hard time, recognizing their own skills, because oftentimes it's something they have done forever and comes very easily to them. So they don't see the value in it. Yeah. So I have that. And then on the, converse side of that, I have women who come with, 78 ideas. And they just can't narrow it down, which to me, I'm like, that's not a red flag to me, but that is you being insecure and scared to like go in on something. Cause I'm like, let's say you go in on idea A for the next 6 months and see A, if you really love the idea, B, if it's going to work, that's fine. But if it doesn't work, you can change to something else. You can change to something else. So I think those are the really biggest obstacles. I'd say what I see more of is the potential, because my audience, like when I start talking to them, like I had this woman one time, I always tell the story. She's like, I don't have anything to sell. Like I've been I haven't worked outside of the home, and I homeschooled my 7 children. And I'm like, whoa, let's back the bus up here. You homeschooled 7 children. That's like huge. Over 20 years and you have nothing to share. I'm like, that's crazy.
God. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think there's a bit of that. And the other hurdle is we don't see ourselves in the online space as much. You get, the bro marketers and the rock'em sock'em, and we don't want to be that. That's not us. And we don't want to be that. We are seeing more and more of ourselves out there, which I think is great. And if you look at the statistics, like people over 50 are like twice or 3 times as likely to successfully start an online business as a 20 or 30 something.
Yes. And I'm like, I've been reading those too. Yes. That's so true.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of, we don't see ourselves out there. We're insecure because, I worked in my career in educational publishing. A lot of it was technology, and there's terms coined for us. We're digital immigrants, whereas younger people are digital natives. So technology came to us during our lives. So we've had to learn it at a later stage of our life. Yeah. But we had a previous experience that was not technology. And so I always use the typewriter. I mean, I went with the typewriter generation because it kind of fully explains us, like in a nutshell. Like when you had to learn how to type, like when you were in school and you had to do a paper.
Year 9, I hated it. I hated typing class.
But think about this. Once you started committing something to paper, you were committed. Like you had to know and you had to outline. There were consequences to, hitting that, starting that paper. Today, no, copy, paste, delete, clone, share. So there aren't the consequences. So we physically, like we learned in technology, like user experience, we approach technology different. Grandma is afraid to hit that button because that button had consequences back in the day.
Yeah. Oh,
so
that's good.
Subconscious thing. So I think that's probably one of the biggest hurdles is we don't see ourselves as belonging to this online techie startup.com space when it's really not that at all anyhow, but that's what the image is.
Yeah.
So I think that's a challenge. That's a challenge.
Yeah, that's a really good observation you've made there, because you're so right. I remember, like I used to have tech people saying to me when I was mucking around learning how to build my website, don't worry, you can't break it. But I was like, but if I do the wrong thing, I'm going to ruin it, just like a sheet of typing. You're dead right there. And I think so many women still have that ingrained sort of, reflex to using technology.
It's subconscious. It's very subconscious.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Because it's not like we're all sitting there scared, silly, chomping our fingernails, is it? It's just a really innate thing. Right, I'm going to pop you on the spot here, Colleen. What are three things that you would like to tell everybody about, like how wonderful it is to have a business, or why they would want to do this? What are the benefits of doing this hard work and starting a business in your midlife journey?
Oh gosh.
Sorry, no warning here, everybody listening. Just three.
I mean, I personally believe, I think come from generations where we were just trained or expected or whatever to be employees. It's the safe thing to do. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We all, want to provide for our families, et cetera. The wonderful thing about having your own online business is you really get to be the boss, as cliche as it is. You get to make the decisions, and decisions that are really meaningful to you about your business and how you want to present your business. I also think it's this incredible way, as we get older, this is something I've been learning since, like, I've lost my husband, I've lost my sister, all these big losses, which so many of us, at 50 and beyond have had, right? But we run out of milestones. And I always say to people, you have to find your purpose. When you're tiny, like, I'm going to go to kindergarten, I'm going to go to first grade, I'm going to graduate high school, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get married, I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to have a kid, all these milestones, I'm going to have a career. We get to a point where we're kind of like, what's next? Like, I've done all of that. Yeah. I've done all of that. So to me, having an online business is like this creative process where you really get to create this amazing thing in your life. Yes. And it can take any shape that you want it. So I love that, for example, that you're calling your book Side Hustles, because, my audience does not, I'm sure some of them do, but most of them do not want to go create this 7-8 figure empire where they're working 80 hours a week. Yeah. Been there, done it. They want to build a nice business with a nice income that gives them joy and purpose, and they get to share their expertise. So I think it creates, this really great sense of purpose on our own terms. And of course, in the online space, you can start a business doing anything, anything. I mean, the people that it's crazy. I mean, the women that have come through my doors, I'm like, yeah, you can create a business doing that. You can create a business doing that online. So I think there's that. And then just from a practical standpoint, obviously you can create a business as large or as small as you want. Yes. And I think it's really important at our age, I hate that again, to be very intentional about the business we create, because we have lives, full lives. Like, we don't want to give up our life for this business. It needs to fit in. And we can do that. We can do that with an online business.
Oh, so many great points. I think we could go for hours here, Colleen. And I love your enthusiasm and your fire and your passion to help women in particular do this. So where can people find you? Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, they can find me at scrappyfrontier.com. That's the name of my website. And that's where they can find me. You can get my freebies there that start to help you. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a free Facebook group, start your first online business after 50. But I'd say start with the website. That'll get you every place you need to go.
Fantastic. And we will be having all of those links below, whether it's on the YouTube channel or on the podcast. So please be sure to check them out and go get in Colleen's world. You will just be so blessed by this lady. So Colleen, I just want to thank you for today. It's just been fabulous talking to you. I love your passion and looking forward to reconnecting with you.
Thank you, Kat. And I'm going to look forward to your book. I can't wait for your book because I think it's so important that we support each other in these endeavors because there's so much opportunity. And if I had one last little tiny point, having worked in this field, women over 50 have everything and more they need to have a successful online business. The tech and some of the hurdles is totally overcomable, but the expertise, the wisdom, the interest, the passion that you have, like the world needs that, as cliche as that sounds. I mean, it's expertise that can't be bought. Like we've earned it over time and we have it.
Love it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. That is so encouraging. So everybody, please, like I said, jump in on those links, get in Colleen's world, learn, be inspired, start dreaming about what it is that you think that you could do that would give you purpose and fulfillment, but also make a difference in your world. So thanks again. I will see you on the next episode.